that are not formal and are very, very expensive. And most times, the business margins cannot support the kind of cost that they incur on financing. Clearly, the formal sector, in terms of financing, needs to do a lot more. However, a lot of the problems are also coming from the business concerns. There are things that they need to put in place to assess financing, which are not there. I also look at the business environment. There are so many uncertainties in our business environment. Beginning of this year, diesel was selling at about 410 or thereabout. Today it's about 785. Somebody has approached a bank to take a loan to support the business with the mind that the cash flow will support the repayment. Today, the cash flow has been thrown into shambles, and so there is so much that is around doing business. Of recent, power is one major one, which addresses diesel. Second one is a issue of FX. Dollar to naira was some months ago at a rate that it's friendly. Today, it has gone to the roof, and it then becomes difficult to plan when you have this kind of environment. Then I will start by talking about inadequate infrastructure. Infrastructure can come in several forms. There could be hard infrastructure, that could be soft. Hard in this sense is talking about road, power. These are major infrastructure that affects doing business in any environment. And people want to move from point A to point B, and they spend hours on the road and so on. That affects ability to grow the business quickly. Beyond the hard infrastructure, you also have what they call the soft infrastructure. To find any information today about small business in the country, and Lagos in this instance, is not too easy because statistics are not there, data are not there. It then becomes very difficult to have informed decisions. There are other issues around why businesses are not growing the way they should grow, but I will just pause with those ones that I've highlighted.
Thank you. That's already quite a lot. So maybe, we heard from our two panelists on some of the challenges, around energy, skill set, beliefs, environment, hard and soft infrastructure. I like the soft infrastructure. But also some opportunities. There are some things ongoing in the making on the infrastructure side, on the port side, for instance. And so now maybe let's switch the conversation more to solution and what can be done, and also maybe what is the LSDP 2052 offering in terms of solutions. So for instance, upgrading large informal markets to modern wholesale hubs, leveraging partnership and trade agreements to foster more trade, and also investing in the port infrastructure. There are lots of things that are ongoing that will triple the existing capacity and improve the logistics around it. So those are some of the initiatives that are included in the plan. But maybe now I would like to move to Mrs. Follow-Onshaw to talk a little bit about the port infrastructure. So we heard that we have significant margin of improvement on our infrastructure that will help us unlock the potential of wholesale and to become the wholesale and retail hub of the region. What are some of the concrete actions that can be done to actually improve our infrastructure?
Hello. For the first time, I have a comparative advantage of being short. I don't have to bend over. Concrete actions. Let's take ports. Ports, very good. The problem is not building the ports. The problem is access to the ports and exits from the ports. We commend all of the seaports initiative, but we must look at the infrastructure. a terminal operator, a port operator will say to you, there's no congestion in the port. And truthfully, there is no congestion inside the port. It's getting to the ports that is. Now, what the cargo owner needs is to be able to take his cargo into the port, leave it, have it sent out, and that. So whatever things we're doing in terms of structure, that we must address how to. But I was having a quick discussion, and somebody brought to our attention the opportunities. This morning, the younger ones said they don't see challenges, they see opportunities. And today, I have just been told of an opportunity, the barges. We're going to have to utilize not the roads, but the barges immediately from tomorrow or after Igbeti. What do we build around those? Take ports. I'm not going to go into too many. The ports bring much more than what the ports earns. Because first and foremost, you need to transport the cargo by road, by barges. That's an investment opportunity. It creates employment for the food vendors. It creates employment for the chandlers. Coming here today, I see more opportunities than the problem. But we have got to sit down and say, for the ports, what must be addressed. Good initiative, but more work to be done. Now let me quickly, wearing two caps here. The ship owner in Ghana, all he's interested in is bring his vessel, take the cargo, leave. If he can't get that done, he will not patronize our ports. He will use Lome. So whether we cry from here till Kingdom Come, our cargo is being diverted to Lome. I will take my business to where I can get satisfaction. The problem is going to become much more enormous. AFCFTA has come into play. That's $1 trillion opportunity. Lagos State today, the advantage is simple. It has been placed by God Almighty. If I need to go to the next state without a passport, I will go to 3 countries from Lagos State without a passport. I will take the road route. Drop me on this side of Nigeria, go through the small gate, and I'm in the other country. If I want to come by air, oh dear, Lagos State has all the airport here, blah, 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 all over. Oh, if I want to come by the seas. So God has placed Lagos State in that vantage. Thank you for audience, vantage. However, we must shine our eye and take the opportunities we've been given and hold on to it. I'll stop there.
Thank you. So Mr. Ratti, we just heard Ms. Folorunsho saying that basically people have opportunities, they have choices. They can take all their cargo to Lome. But what we would really like to do is have Lagos not only to be the hub for Nigeria, but the hub for the entire region. And so that transshipment, instead of happening in Lome, would happen in Nigeria. What are, according to you, some of the constraints and some of the impediments for this to happen? What can we do?
Yeah, so what Mrs. Folorunsho said is aptly put up. Now the key is that, for example, the Lekki port, and I will cite that as an example because that's what we are doing and what we know more of. And Lagos State has been very supportive of this whole project. So Lekki port, is not only one port, right? It's an entire ecosystem. which has been built around it. So it's a combination of Lekki Port, Lagos Free Zone, and there are several other free zones which are neighbors to the Lekki Port. And that kind of an ecosystem is what is needed. Now the ecosystems comes, fully complete with all kind of industrial facilities, which means that there are warehousing, there are standard factories, there are commercial offices there, there's a banking, entire banking setup which exists there. So this kind of ecosystem can be leveraged not only to use Lekki Port as a gateway port for Nigeria, but to also pivot that entire ecosystem towards catering to begin with West Africa and then ultimately the whole of Africa. And why not? Why only Africa? I would say that we have got some very good treaties in place, like the African Growth Opportunities Act and some of the trade treaties with the European countries. Leverage on this and catapult Lagos as an export-oriented hub. As I already said, that the seamless port will offer that opportunity. Piped gas-based power offers that opportunity. Availability of skilled and semi-skilled workforce, which has got high work standards, that offers that opportunity. So we have the right recipe, and the whole move towards moving from oil to non-oil, I think that can be made a reality. What is needed is the full support, the full cooperation of the government to actually promote this kind of an ecosystem. So once that promotion happens, and it has to be, the words have to be backed with concrete action. So that's on the promotion side. Now coming to the infrastructure to support this ecosystem. So road is of course one ecosystem, one supportive evacuation mechanism for the cargo. But the other, what Mrs. Folorunsho said about developing the barging facilities, and that's what has been talked about even in the LSDP, that we should have barging facilities, much more developed ones at Agbara, Trade Fair, Epe, Ikorodu, which is the other parts of Lagos, to decongest the Apapa and then the Lekki Port, which is coming on board, and also develop some of the off-dock facilities somewhere close to Apapa and Lekki, and then use them to actually ensure that the evacuation happens properly. I mean, there is no reason why 90% of the cargo which terminates at Cotonou and Lomé is destined for Nigeria. I mean, that volume should ideally come to Nigeria, the Nigerian seaports. I mean, Nigerian seaports today have only 1 million containers, and similar GDP countries like Egypt and South Africa are sitting on 5 million containers. I mean, this clearly is a testament that we have not really realized the kind of potential which we are sitting on.
Thank you. So, you want to add something? I was just going to say, I like the ambition on this panel. Yes, please.
Thank you. If I didn't come here, I'm a Nigerian. Lekki Seaport is alien to me. Please do not cover that. What is available? Who knows about Lekki Seaport outside of Lagos? Outside of Nigeria? I have never been to any event outside this country. Permit me, maybe I haven't gone to too many, that I see Lekki Seaport being marketed, promoted. Which of us would have a gold mine like Lekki Seaport? Private sector. I differ a little bit on the support by government. They've done the best they can. We can advise them on what to do to enhance. But the private sector sitting here must use what they have. I have just booked an appointment with him after this event. Let's go take a look. How can we promote what we have for use? Already we have a facility. How can we, private sector, now promote, along, of course, with government, promote Lekki Seaport? Immediate, low-hanging fruit for the trade. Madam, do not despair. We will get there. AFCT is here. We need to go to Ghana, we need to go to Benin, we need to go everywhere and say, we have an alternative. Please use it.
Thank you. So let's move back to the MSMEs. You painted all the challenges earlier. Now let's look a little bit at what can we do to overcome those challenges.
If we look at the access to financing, looking at Nigeria and Lagos as a case study, the landscape is changing. However, the players need to understand that landscape is changing. If you look at the formal banking sector, there are new players now called non-interest banks. The non-interest bank actually finance the real sector. They are able to provide options to players in the market. For example, you have a product in the non-interest banking environment that is not available in the conventional banking environment. That product is called agency banking. Agency banking, the technical word for it is wakala. Wakala means that venture capitalist who wants to invest in a particular sector of the market, say hospital or education, they pull funds in an account and then give the bank as an agent to on-lend to people who play in that sector. Those kind of funds are increasingly available either by many players or by a single player. For example, somebody can say that I'm interested in health sector of the country, and I'm putting 2 billion in that fund. Bank as my agent ensure that you lend to hospitals in these categories. That is now available through the non-interest bank. Another one that is available is that the conventional bank could not go into partnership with businesses because they are not set up to do that. But the non-interest bank are able to go into joint venture and partnership and then agree on profit sharing at the end of the business cycle. These are some of the options that are available in the market now, but people need to understand how it operates and then embrace it. They are more business friendly. For instance, the NIBs, they are not able to charge maintenance fee. It's not part of their business model. So you are banking at zero, except when you are looking for financing, and then you agree on the profit sharing ratio and so on. So those are some business models that are providing options to the businesses that require financing to grow their business. Beyond this, in terms of accessing finance, businesses also need to understand what the ABC of accessing financing. For instance, I'll give an example. I was buying something in an open market recently, and it's a textile, and then because of cashless policy, I have to pay through POS. Amazingly, the shop owner does not have our own POS. I have to pay through third-party POS, and this is a business that does about 3-4 million on a daily basis. You can imagine the turnover in a month and in a year. What harm is that doing to the business? If she wants to now approach the bank to get financing, she has no record of her activity. Her activity is with the POS owners. So I have to take time to educate her. See, this practice needs to stop. You must reflect your activity in your own bank account. What they also do, they say they're into trade. So as money is coming in, they are buying goods immediately and so on. So it doesn't reflect in any bank account. Even if you would put the money in the morning and you take it in the evening, let it reflect in your bank statement that you are doing this kind of turnover. So it shows capacity. So there are a whole lot of issues to address in assessing financing from financial institutions because some of them don't have records. So there is nothing to lay hands on when you're trying to assess the business, whether they can pay back or not. And some, they can actually pay and they are willing to, but they don't have the discipline of paying at the right time. These are some of the little educations that needs to go into telling people that this is how you manage the business to make you attractive for financing, for growth, and so on. I also like to touch on business education, and that is one area where government can play. You find out that sometimes people want to grow, but they don't know how to. They are afraid to go back to classroom because they didn't go to the classroom in the first instance, and they run the business where it has gotten up to. But they need to move beyond that level. Our training institutions, which can be anchored by government, can start to run, let me call it, trade MBA. To go into a trade MBA class, you don't need any degree. You have run a business successfully in the last 20 years. All you need is your business experience to move forward. So they will design a curriculum, 2-3 months, very flexible, and give business owners basic business skill required to move the business to the next level. Beyond this, we also need to begin to look at support centers, and that government can also anchor. Support centers means that businesses require support from legal practitioner, accounting firm, consulting firm, but they are intimidated. Nobody wants to go and see a lawyer except you think you have a problem. But these are regular services that they should get on an ongoing basis. For some, it is expensive. So where we begin to have pool of shared resources, where you have a center people can approach for legal services, maybe subsidized by government, accounting services, tax services, that could provide some support for businesses that are trying to grow. I will give another example in that regard. Across the West Coast, that's moving beyond Nigeria now, Togo, Lomé, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana. If you take population of Nigerians in those countries, Cote d'Ivoire alone has about 2 million Nigerians. By the time you take those 4 countries, you might be telling so like 8 million or thereabout Nigerians, and they want to consume Nigerian foods. The bonfita from Nigeria is different from bonfita from Cote d'Ivoire. So what people do today is to smuggle those goods into those countries, going through hardship. We can begin to look at institutional platform through which those goods can formally move to those countries. And people want things like beans, gari, ugu leaf, some soap. So there is a huge potential market. We need the coast, about 10 million customers who want to consume Nigerian-made goods. But we've not put in place any infrastructure to support movement in and out of that corridor. If we have that kind of infrastructure, then you see that even businesses in Nigeria on a small scale could begin to access markets that could make them to grow and expand. These are some of the solutions you can begin to look at quickly to ensure that some of our companies and SMEs can begin to grow to the next level.
Thank you. So, Mr. George, I haven't forgotten you. So we talked a lot about the challenges, we talked about the opportunities, we have a big ambition, there are already some solutions, I'm writing them down, so because the Imbecti is also about finding some resolution that we will implement. But there are also, on the focus areas of this panel, there are also lots of initiatives that are included in the LSDP. What are, according to you, the obstacles that could hinder the implementation of all those initiatives, and also some of the opportunities that we have already identified on this panel?
Okay, thank you, Stefano. So when you're on a panel like this and you're the only government person and you have a lot of private sector, you get all the hard questions one, and then you get all the top. So, well, you see, more seriously, it's I think with MSMEs, it's a very informal sector where it's hard to do business, And I think also one of the things I want to say is that as a government, I think it's important for us to point out things we've done, things that, can help, So for instance, when we talk about all these things, one of the things we lack is that we need to be able to know ourselves better. So I say that now, I'll point out to something like LASRA, the Lagos State Residents Association card. We're currently doing that. I think we've registered close to 8+ million people. So that way we know ourselves. We can sort of say, look, this is who we are. We can then have access to credit and access to other things, I'll also touch on, you talked about support. So I'll touch on some things like what Lagos State Employment Trust Fund is doing. I believe over the last couple of years, they're giving close to 10 billion naira in grants and loans, and it's very sector agnostic. It's not focused on one sector. It's they've given grants, they've given loans. We know that MSMEs over the last couple of years have sort of shrunk, maybe due to other effects, due to COVID, due to whatever. But having said so, as a government, we know that we need to be able to give the support. You talked about infrastructure. We know that we can't sort of build. When you talked about the ports, I know that it's been a long struggle to actually get the port up and running. We're almost there. We should be able to, and it's huge. As a subnational, I don't know many other subnationals that sort of take the time to sort of be able to sort of have this sort of huge infrastructure development. We can't build, there's no amount of roads we can build that will be able to build ourselves out of congestion in the state. We're a state of close to 20 plus million people. So we can build all the roads, but we will still, so other alternative sources of transportation, using the waterways, we have the rail coming. We recently just talked about the airports, which we're just, so it's huge. There are other things, a lot of things we're doing. I know we're also a victim of our success in Lagos, unfortunately, where, compared to the 5th largest economy in Africa, we're a subnational, that's a national, so, but we can't shy away from it. Everyone is a Lagosian, everyone wants to come to Lagos, irrespective of where you are, so we know that we need to sort of, pull our socks up and sort of make sure we can sort of help. And so whilst we're taking the heat, the challenges, we know that we're here to also offer and prefer solutions and help as much as we can.
And in terms of solution, I mean, on the infrastructure, we saw that many of to be able to develop those infrastructure, you need actually partnerships.
Yes.
You cannot do it alone. I mean, you are in the office of the PPP. What are the key partnerships that will enable Lagos to become this regional and African and even beyond Africa, I heard, hub?
I think it's very important for me to point out with partnerships, private capital only tends to go where they feel their capital is secure. And also, we don't fool ourselves to say that, private capital is looking for return on its investment. So for us, what we've looked at is we've ensured that, we have an environment that is safe, that is secure, and that can ensure that private sector capital can thrive. So, we also honor the sanctity of agreements, because if you don't sort of go through your agreements, it makes it harder, it makes it more expensive the next time you're trying to deal with someone. So in terms of our private sector partners, enabling environment is key. We have fantastic people in the state and in Lagos, but what we have that's better than the people we have is we have outstanding institutions. So, with the institutions, it doesn't matter who's sitting there, who's there, you find that institutions work, and, you can come in and know you want to do business with the state, and you're dealing with a responsive state, and a state that, obviously has the institutions to back it. So, as I said, sanctity of agreement is key. We're looking for partnerships in various infrastructural sectors. We also know that, we also need to be able to respect the agreements we go into, and also be able to ensure that it's a win-win situation for both parties. Whilst private capital is looking to make a return on its investment, as a state as well, we need to ensure that every naira we spend, we have to justify and ensure that naira is better spent with the private sector as opposed to the public sector doing it on its own. It's a balance, for both parties.
Thank you. So I think this is the time when I would like to do the questions, if we have questions. Sorry, what? Because I think the way, did you get the QR code? No, yes, no, yes, no. Can we? Okay, the QR code is back up there. But that's the easiest way, because I know that we have the tendency, if I take questions in the room, to give your whole curriculum, give your opinion, and then ask the question. So I'm going to maybe first start with the one that were on the QR code, and then if we have time, I'll take 2 in the room, which I'm going to get killed for, but I'm still going to do it, and then we'll close. Okay, the first question. MSMEs are often underrated engine of growth and job creation. How can they be supported to take advantage of the AFCFTA?
Okay. The AFCFTA gives room to companies, regardless of where they are in Africa, to trade with other countries. Part of the challenge before now is the fact that different countries have different currencies, so we are not able to make payments easily and so on. But there's an initiative called PAPS, Pan-African Payment Settlement System, that allows you can buy goods from Ghana and then pay with Naira. That will go live very soon. About 10 countries are already ready to plug into that system. Hopefully that will take care of that problem. However, to sell goods into countries beyond local country, the quality has to be right. And quality has to be right. So as financial institution, I work with one of them. We are willing to provide financing to MSMEs to ensure that they have the right equipment and tools to get the goods out in the right quality and countries so that we don't produce goods and then it's rejected in destination countries and so on. So where businesses require support to ensure the quality is right, to obtain certifications so that the quality of goods being shipped out is acceptable. We also have what we call enlightenment sections. Recently, my institution organized what we call Export Forum. And the Export Forum, people were taking through A to Z of export. People were taking through how to start from conceiving the idea of exporting to what you actually do when you export and how you get payments. These are some of the initiatives that are in place to support businesses that wants to trade or benefit from the opportunity of the fact that the Africa as a continent is now a small village for us to trade. I'm happy to announce that my institution is one of the institutions that is ready for the pulse payment. As now we say go ahead, then we can plug into it easily. These are some of the ways we are ensuring that we can support business to compete just beyond, not locally, even into the other countries of Africa.
Thank you. So there's another question that is a bit similar. We're going to take it quickly. What are the plans to equip the MSMEs with the right soft skills? How will this information get to them? So on this one, I will maybe take it. Because I wrote down on one of my notes here that one of the things that we should do, business education, trade MBA classes from the government. That's one of the, so we could take this as a resolution. And then what you just mentioned now, the financing to understand how to export, I think is also part of this soft skill conversation. But I think there is also something that the banks need to do in terms of why do I need a POS? Why is it that expensive? Should I really get it, etc. So we put that on the banks.
Okay, should I come up or?
No, I think I put that on you for
okay.
the entire sector. But I see that there is a comment there.
A very quick comment. I'm now speaking as co-champion of AFCFTA transportation for Nigeria. And I have my directives from the federal government. It is important that Lagos State, and I would please want you as the PPP and government army here, we must have an AFCFTA body. AFCFTA in Lagos. It must not be hidden under this department or this ministry. Where do I go to articulate everything about AFCFTA? It's $1 trillion. Lagos, if you go to Balogun, I walk the streets sometimes too. Lagos is a nation. It's an African nation. I hear French being spoken. So I'm saying to myself, what the heck? This place is a natural hub for the AFCFTA. But we must have, I don't know what it is in government.
Quickly.
Just a minute.
Okay.
Because we came here initially, and I know that under His Excellency, convener of the chairman who spoke today, the commissioner, you set up an AFCFTA. But to drive AFCFTA, it's not about SMEs only. It's about the total, everything AFCFTA, the trade, the business. My suggestion.
No, I hear you. I think also, it's, no matter how we slice it and dice it, the bottom line is about ease of doing business. So, we have various other, initiatives, but one of the things we do have is that we have an office that's set up, and it's termed for ease of doing business, So anything you want to do, you go in there, it can be your planning permits, it can be whatever it is, but, that office, I think, is best equipped to, because at times, once you start having little pockets, because you would have pockets for everything. It can be that today, it can be something, so we find that it's easier for us to centralize things. You go in there, so whatever it is, then they can then say to you, guide you and say to you, this is the best place to go, and, go left, go right, so it's something that I think we can.
Thank you for the response, quick response, yes. And love it.
Thank you.
But because I'm not part of government, I didn't know there was something that could be.
I think it's a challenge. You know, we need to do better in terms of being able to communicate and say what we're doing. We're trying. You know, we're constantly learning. We're constantly, you know, but there is an office that's set up, and then what that does is it helps with being able to sort of help with the ease of doing business. And I think it's the Office of Overseas and Investments, which my colleagues, I can get her to come here and sit down and take some more questions, and I can.
If you have something, let's build on it.
No, we do.
Because that's
we do.
something of the future,
We definitely
that the
do.
future is now,
We
like
do.
the younger ones said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I promised some questions. Madam, you were the first one. We can't hear you. Can we do something with the mic?
Please, is it working?
It's working.
Okay, my name is Ronke Kosako. I'm the CEO of Employment Clinic. I work in the maritime and shipping sector. And just last week, exactly a week ago, 11 days ago actually, the Minister for Transportation actually, because Lagos is a port city, the only reason I'm here is because Lagos is launching a 30-year economic plan and will be called the commercial capital of Nigeria. We put a flag of Nigeria with different hands in the hands of the governor called Projects 1 Million Jobs. I sat with the employers in Apapa economy because what we had when I came into the industry was only Apapa. And in our presence, when Lekki was still on the paper, a plan, we were there advocating. Now we have 3 port cities in Lagos, Apapa, Badagry, and Lekki. The problem of Apapa was what led to Lekki. And now, as we are exiting into Lekki, Lekki is creating bigger opportunities and bigger problems. Like I said, 11 days ago here, the minister said, oh, I want to talk to Lagos State Governor. We have 5% stake as federal government, X, Y, and Z. But we are taking up the conversation where necessary. But when I sat with employers, including the MD of the largest shipping company in the world, MSC, with over 70,000 workforce in one of their subsidiaries, major, about 4 or 5 of them, and I'm not boasting. That is my boss on the table. I don't know if she likes to say this. A lot of times we meet on table, Mrs. Follow on Show. She should be proud of me anyway. So now, Lagos, 30 years, 2052. Employers, investors, shipping companies in Apapa say, see, your country has been running around the problem. In France, we do 4 million TEUs. In Nigeria, I'm doing 200,000 TEUs. Yes, because I engage them. Private-public dialogue. This is just a week ago. How can MSC be doing 4 million TEUs in France, and I'm in Lagos, you are doing 200,000, with having an infrastructure conversation? I can boast here that the company that can fix a Apapa infrastructural problem on a PPP with the government, they are on the table. But my government goes abroad looking for what is here. If the MD of MSC, CMAGGM, Hapag-Lloyd, and all that calls or send a mail to their company globally, they respond to them because you have been in Nigeria, go and talk to the government. They are willing to talk to the government. Like I said, the infrastructural conversation is a very huge one. There is no way Lekki can be 3 times bigger than Apapa, and Lekki is not going to have 3 times bigger problem than Apapa in terms of gridlock, in terms of skill gaps and all that. So one of the things you said, trade MBA, whatever, all those things are the things that we've started basically first for Apapa economy. I will liaise with every other person here. Now, Badagry will come up again. If Lagos is going to be a port city, LSDP 2052, let's project, close our eyes and see. What is the quality of life of our people?
Madam, I trusted you. Huh?
Okay. So like I said, there is a bigger conversation on infrastructural development.
Yes.
There is a bigger conversation on skill gap. Like I said, off the grid here, we are taking it up with the state government. I want everybody to come on board. Nigeria is doing things in silos. All these things need to be coordinated so that at least Lagos can boast of quality employment for our young people within the 3 port economies. So that Lagos can boast that we want to be 21st century economy. Lekki is not going to be the next Apapa. Like I said, let me drop the microphone. I'm speaking where necessary behind the scene, even to Ashiwaju, the incoming president of Nigeria. But I'm not happy about the way they cut the governor out of this conversation. Dr. Cardoso linked me up, and I told him today, I said, sir, they shut this thing down, the technical committee, and he said, well, so let me just leave everything off the grid. But let's take these conversations very seriously. It's not talk for us. She was my first boss in the industry when I came. I used to go to Apapa 4 a.m. I leave my house to get to Apapa, and I became a millionaire in that industry. And to the glory of God, I became a billionaire there by rendering services. Like I said, this is not the place. I am very well known in the industry, but there are bigger conversations for Lagos State if we truly want to achieve 2052. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now she ate all the time. So I can only take one more question. You were the second, and that's it. Then we're done. But a question, or if it's a statement, a short one.
I was going to make both question and contribution. A question and a contribution. Okay, my name is Dr. Adams Adebayo. I am the chairman of the National Association of Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises. That's Lagos State chapter. So that is why I said, let me give my own question and at the same time, my own contribution. Madam, thank you. You have said it very well about the AFCTA that's coming up. The Lagos State, they just set up. I got a letter last week. I'm also a member of that committee. What actually happened is that the committee is being put together with the organized private sector. Like I am representing NASMI, we have NASI, we have NECA, SCCI, NASIMA, and some other people that they put together for this to move forward. That is the first aspect. That's just a contribution. Last year, I was a panelist, and along with some other members of the organized trade operators. So my question now is that, Oga, I've said a lot, and I thank your bank, and thank you. You've spoken very well as a member of financial institution. And Oga that is representing the government too. Mr. Kwejosh, you have really done very well in that aspect. My question is that, are we going to continue like this? Coming here, year in, coming here, year out, having this fantastic, robust contribution? What is the next thing? We need to know what to get out of it. As we keep on talking about the MBA trade and other things, that is, you see, we need to get to the roots. As at last time we have in Lagos alone, we have over 27 million MSMEs. Micro, over 27 million. In my association, we have over 15,000. 2 years ago, we did a program. The program was just for them to sensitize the government so that we can have the data. As Oga said, there's no proper data. That's not a problem. But the issue is that there's what we call lack of sincerity. I don't want to go further, but let me just tell you what happened to us. We have over 15,000 members. We put our members together from these sectors, like over 36 sectors of different clusters. Then by the time we put it together, we call on the Lagos State Inland Revenue. They are the one that sponsored the program. So the next thing, we hand over our data to them, they rush after those people. We lost over 15,000 of our members, almost. Now we are less than 1,000. We are less than, because the reason why is that we've given them everything, and they don't trust us again. And when you say you don't have structure, not that they don't have structure. You see, the small business want to grow. But by the time you expose them, you now find a problem somewhere how to get it back. So we need to look at it. You need to work along with some association that these people trust and they believe in. Because whenever I tell my people, you are still going again, you will lose some of your members, because at the end of the day, this is it. But what we need to do, every part, if we are talking of after everything, is only in Lagos and Nigeria. We have the money, we have the people. But let government have the sincerity of purpose. So that if we say this is what we want to do, let them do that. For instance, now, we are still going to lose more in terms of people. They are coming up with 20% sugar tax. That is for sweeteners and other things that they are using. Those who are doing soft drinks, they are going to increase the price again. So we need to look at the policy. Are there serious policies that have to be implemented? Sminder brought out all those policies we were there to get. It's only in Nigeria you shave somebody's head by at his absence, and you say, look at the head of the hairstyle you are having. And they will come out with a policy that you have to follow. So we need to let them know how do we harness this population? We have about 23 millions of people that they are not even inclusive. You said it now. Just to get common POS is a problem. Some banks are charging us up to 15,000, 30,000, 60,000. How do you want small business to survive with that? We have so many checkpoints that is going everywhere in terms of this one we collect. You find out that it's only the small business that pay the highest tax, and government is not getting to government post. I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. George, you want to answer? Quickly.
Thank you. I was hoping my mic has gone off, but it's going to work. So, okay, so thank you. So, you said a lot of things, but I'll just try as much as possible to capture as much as I can in the short time left. Okay, so to touch on what you first of all started off by saying that, outcomes. So you see, one of the beauties of having summits like this is we've had them in the past. If you were here earlier, we had the Honorable Commissioner for Economic Planning has stated the amount of resolutions that were stated since Engbeti started and what has been done, how many have been achieved. So it's a constant learning process. So we have resolutions, we come back and we give accounts and say this is what we've done. Out of the 200, I think he touched that we're on 90-something%. So we're getting better. We're not at 100%, we're at 90-something%. That shows that we're looking at what has been asked of us by the citizens and our people, and we're trying to respond. Now, to the other parts of the question, I think to touch on it and say like certain aspects and certain parts, are within our control, certain parts are not within the state's control. So there are certain things that are within the federal government's control that we can, as a state, cannot legislate or cannot do. So we do our best to ensure that everything that's within our control, we try and ensure that we make the pain as little, alleviate the pain for our people. Because we know that if not, we cannot have a thriving economy. So it's on us to ensure that we help our citizens and ensure that we can do what it is we can do to ensure that it's easy for them to sort of have their businesses here. And then to touch on the last point, I think it's also important to point out that for everything we want to do, I think as a people we have to also learn that there's nothing that's free. We need to be able to pay the right sort of levies and sort of taxes. And I say the right one, not inordinate taxes or inordinate levies. So we need to be able to say that and pay that. So I think once we have that at the back of our mind, and I think once people see that, once you're paying these right levies and taxes, and they can see what it is they get for it, then they're a bit more calm about it.
Well, so you see, I was not lying. This is so aggressive, there is a bit now. So the time is up. Can I take 2 minutes or the time is up? The time is up. So I think we're going to thank the panelists. Thank you for joining us. And we're going to close like this. Thank you.